Hello everyone, my name is Tokreva, and this is a special episode making note of the importance of today. Many of you might not know this, but today is a very important day in the history of the world, as it is in the US, I believe it's Veterans Day, and in most parts of Europe, it is Armistice Day. And now 2015 marks the 97th anniversary of the end of the First World War that lasted for 4 years between Germany and Austria-Hungary, mostly on one side, and the UK, the French Republic, and the Russian Empire on the other side, later joined by Italy and the US as well. And it started a lot of things. It was the bloodiest war till date, and there's a lot of importance to be known about this war. It all started in 1914 with the assassination of the Crown Prince of Austria-Hungary, Franz Ferdinand, in Sarajevo, by, I think it was Serbian separatists. Anyway, there was a lot of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire had basically, for a long period of time, incorporated a lot of areas and a lot of different people into its empire, and that meant that some of them were disgruntled, and they came to, it came to an assassination attempt and success at that point in 1914. And it escalated really badly because all of Europe had alliances with one another. Austria-Hungary, in retaliation on that assassination attempt, declared war on Serbia. Serbia, as a Slavic nation, was backed by Russia. So Russia declared war on Austria-Hungary. That declaration of war caused Germany to declare war on Russia because Germany was allied to Austria-Hungary. Russia was allied to France and to the UK, so both the UK and France also declared war upon Germany. At that point, the Netherlands and Belgium declared their not their independence, their neutrality, but Belgium's neutrality was ignored, as it was again during World War II. At least in World War I, we in the Netherlands were spared, so today is not that important in our own history, but the history of the world is still very important. Anyway, the war lasted for over 4 years. The guns fell silent on the 11th of the 11th at the 11th hour, which is 97 years ago. And there are a lot of things about the war that it was the war always has a huge impact on the world. Because of the war, the US had a massive boost in industry, which caused the Roaring Twenties to occur, which in turn caused the Depression in the 30s to occur. As the French General Foch, F-O-C-H, said when the war ended, this is not a peace, this is a 20-year armistice, because of the really harsh treatment of Germany in the peace deal, the Treaty of Versailles. And about 20 years later, 21 years exactly, Germany was invading Poland in the start of World War II. So that happened 20 years. So the Second World War is in a sense the directly caused by the First World War. And other things, aviation had huge boosts. Aircraft were the man only knew how to fly for 11 years when the war broke out. 1903 is when the Wright brothers had their first successful flight. Of course, Zeppelins and such were already in existence before the aircraft, the fixed wing planes. And the Zeppelins were effectively used in the First World War, mostly as scouts in the beginning, but later on to drop bombs and stuff. And also, horrors were also definitely developed during the war. Biggest one would be the poisonous mustard gas used by both sides in the really, really long trench warfare that erupted along the Western Front. So today is a day of remembrance of that First World War. I'm very fond of the Second World War as in a sense of history, not in the sense of the gruesomeness of the conflict itself. But the First World War is also very important and should not be discounted at all. And I have a passage from the book All Quiet on the Western Front in front of me by Erich Maria Remarque, German soldier during the First World War. It's probably my favorite book of all time. And this passage alone just shows you how rough it was for the soldiers on both sides of the war in the trenches. This is just after the main character has... I don't even remember his name right now. Who's the main character again of the book? His name... I think his name comes up very often in the book anyway, so that's a problem. Yeah. Anyway, this excerpt happens after being stuck in no man's land, which is the area between the trenches of either side, in a hole blown away by the artillery. And when an enemy soldier entered before, and as the soldier, the main character just jumped on the enemy and stabbed him to death. At least he thought he was dead, but then he turned out not to be dead. And then suddenly he started caring for the man in front of him instead of the soldier. But then he had to put him out of his misery as well, because he was too hurt by our main character. Anyway, after actually having stabbed him again. Hours. The gurgling starts up again. How long it takes for a man to die. What I do know is that he's beyond saving. To be sure, I have tried to convince myself otherwise, but by midday this self-delusion has melted away, has been shot to pieces by his groans. If I hadn't lost my revolver when I was crawling along, I would shoot him. I can't stab him. By midday, I am in that twilight area where reason evaporates. I am ravenously hungry, almost weeping for want of food, but I can't help it. I fetch water several times for the dying man, and I drink some of it myself. This is the first man I've ever killed with my own hands, the first one I've seen at close quarters, whose death I've caused. Kat and Krop and Muller have all seen people they have hit as well. It happens often. It's quite common in hand-to-hand fighting. But every gasp strips my heart bare. The dying man is the master of these hours. He has an invisible dagger to stab me with, the dagger of time and my own thoughts. I would give a lot for him to live. It is hard to lie here and have to watch and listen to him. By 3 in the afternoon, he is dead. I breathe again, but only for a short time. Soon the silence seems harder for me to bear than the groans. I would even like to hear the gurgling again. In fits and starts, hoarse, sometimes a soft whistling noise, and then hoarse and loud again. What I am doing is crazy, but I have to have something to do. So I move the dead man again so that he is lying more comfortably, even though he can't feel anything anymore. I close his eyes. They are brown. His hair is black and slightly curly at the sides. His mouth is full and soft underneath his mustache. His nose is a little angular and his skin is tanned. It doesn't seem as pale as before, when he was still alive. For a moment his face even manages to look almost healthy, and then it gives way quickly to become the face of a dead stranger, one of the many I have seen, and every one of them looks alike. His wife is bound to be thinking of him just now. She doesn't know what has happened. He looks as if he used to write to her a lot. She will go on getting his letters, too, tomorrow, next week, Maybe a stray one in a month's time. She'll read it, and he'll be speaking to her in it. My state of mind is getting worse all the time, and I can't control my thoughts. What does his wife look like? Like the slim dark girl in the house by the canal? Doesn't she belong to me? Perhaps she belongs to me now because of all of this. If only Kantarak were sitting here by me. What if my mother saw me in this state? The dead man would surely have been able to live for another 30 years if I'd taken more care about how I was going to get back. If only he had been running a couple of yards further to the left, he'd be back in his trench over there, writing another letter to his wife. This will get me nowhere. It's the fate we all share. If Kamarik's leg had been a few inches further to the right, if he had leaned an inch or two further forward. The silence spreads. I talk. I have to talk. So I talk to him and tell him directly. I didn't mean to kill you, mate. If you were to jump in here again, I wouldn't do it, not so long as you were sensible too. Earlier on, you were just an idea to me. A concept in my mind that called up an automatic response. It was that concept that I stabbed. It is only now that I can see that you are a human being like me. I just thought about your hand grenades, your bayonet, and your weapons. Now I can see your wife, and your face, and what we have in common. Forgive me, comrade. We always realize too late. Why don't they keep on reminding us that you are all miserable wretches just like us, that your mothers worry themselves just as much as ours, and that we're all just scared of death, and that we die the same way and feel the same pain. Forgive me, comrade. How could you be my enemy? If we threw these uniforms and weapons away, you could be just as much my brother as Kat and Albert. Take 20 years from my life, comrade, and get up again. Take more, because I don't know what I am going to do with the years I've got. He is silent. The front is quiet apart from the chatter of machine guns. The bullets are close together, and this is not just random firing. There's careful aiming from both sides. I can't get out. I want to thank you all for watching, and listening mostly. Remember the fallen. I'll see you guys later.